Hey everybody, back to do my most recent vinyl finds. Mentioned in the last part of my previous video that there was a collection coming into one of the record stores that I frequent in Ottawa, and I got a chance to sift through the stuff before it got put out on the shelves, and found some really cool stuff, and kind of weeded out some of the best stuff for this video. There'll only be 3 artists that I'm showing in this video. Like 3 records from, 3 different artists, many records, but yeah, and gonna try to keep this shorter. My last video went on way too long, but hope you guys enjoy. First record I'm gonna talk about and that I got was Cecil Taylor's Unit Structure. Phenomenal record, really great, and it's a free jazz record. This and Conquistador, I believe, were his only 2 records on Blue Note. This preceded Conquistador, I think, and anyways, it's done in such a different way than any, like Cecil Taylor, especially these albums were unlike anything you'll hear anywhere else, and it's kind of hard to describe unless you hear it for yourself, but Andrews in Stockholm does a great explanation when he did his Blue Note thread, and right when he first started posting videos, he did a Blue Note thread. Wasn't widely answered by a ton of people in the vinyl community, but it was really great to see. And anyways, this was one of the records that he picked as his top 5 Blue Note records, and that was the first time that I really, like, after listening to this explanation and then listening to this record, I really started to understand what it's about, and it really opens up to you, because unlike most records where you'll have like drums and bass setting the rhythm, or making up the rhythm section, setting the pace of the music, and then the piano or saxophone, whatever it is, being the lead instruments, and then setting the melody and everything else. It's on a lot of the tracks they'll do complete reversals where the piano will start setting the place, and then the drums will play, up front, and set the mood of the whole piece and stuff. And so once you, if you just don't know anything about this record and then just try to listen to it as your regular record, it'll seem really chaotic, and not to say that it doesn't seem, it's like it still retains a little of the bat, but once you start listening to it from another perspective and try to not listen to the piano as like you would on a regular jazz piano record, it really opens up, and it seems it has a lot more form once you do that way. And anyways, it's just, if you want to hear something different and to expand your mind on jazz, this is a great record to do it. I'm also would love to find Conquistador someday. Anyways, cool thing about this is this is an original. It's got New York Blue Note labels right there. This is a mono pressing, but this came out in '66, and Blue Note had already been acquired by Liberty Records in '65. So this is still, the originals are Liberty pressings. As you can see, that's the Liberty Blue Note symbol. It says Blue Note, and then a division of Liberty Records, or a product of Liberty Records rather. And but it's funny that they still started using the Blue Note labels, and still until they eventually they came out with the Blue Note with a division of Liberty Records. You'll see in the later 60s and then early 70s. next up, I found a copy in that collection I was talking about of Eric Dolphy's Iron Man. Great collection of tracks released posthumously. It's probably the closest thing you're gonna get to material-wise of Eric Dolphy's that you'll get to Out to Lunch. Bobby Hutcherson plays vibes on this as well, and for me, the vibrahorn's such a big part of like the sound on Out to Lunch that gives it that uniqueness that sets it apart from like a lot of other records, and there's kind of a similar thing going on in a lot of the tracks on here. But great record. Iron Man's kind of the monster track on here, probably the best track, but really solid record all around. Cool thing, has a little write-up on the back, and talks about they're a little worried to put out the tracks right away because they were not really commercial and far out stuff, and the producer is a guy by the name of Alan Douglas. Crap, this is on Douglas Records, so I don't know if that's his own record label. Like, it might just be a coincidence, but it talks about, I think it might be his own record label, because I haven't really seen a lot of other things on Douglas Records. Like, this is the only record that I know of. And I just took it out. Not that, it's a record that, if any of you guys have been watching my videos, you saw that I got, in one of my first recent vinyl finds that I posted. But anyways, Eric Dolphy's The Memorial album. And this album's actually Conversations, which was his third full-length LP, and anyways, they kind of repackaged it and gave it this new thing. When I first bought it, I didn't really know what it was in that video. I said it was like, I thought it was a kind of repackaging of leftover material and stuff, but no, they renamed it, give it a different color cover. Just to show you guys the pictures on the inside, but this material is taken from the same sessions as Iron Man, as the Iron Man material, but they have a completely different vibe on the tracks. I can definitely see why this was put out on one release and then those tracks put out on another, but there's a pretty good flow between these tracks, and the tracks on Iron Man definitely work together. And I don't know if I mentioned this already, but that collection that I got most of these records from was actually by a Japanese fellow who lived in Montreal. Record store in Ottawa purchased his collection. He passed away a few years ago, and his wife was just selling his collection, but the collection was a good mixture of like Japanese pressings, original American pressings, and Canadian pressings and stuff, so cool variety. But one of the only Japanese pressing that I picked up was Eric Dolphy's Last Date. Really gorgeous packaging on this. I believe this is the original Japanese pressing, but I believe this was released a couple years after the original Last Date, like the American one, and I'm sure it was released in Europe as well. But it's got great artwork on it. You can see like Eric Dolphy sitting in a room there, and it's kind of like this plasticky kind of cover. It's really different, and it's a little fragile, but I want to show you. There's a booklet on the inside of it, there's the inner fold. See, and it's got a nice painting of what I assume is Eric Dolphy as well, and the track listing, and then a cool like there's a write-up on him, but also there's pictures accompanying like the words written by him and paintings and stuff. Really beautifully done. See, times like this when you own these Japanese records, and then they have like write-ups of the artist that you wish you could read Japanese. I'm sure other record collectors that own any Japanese pressings would agree, because they always include like usually a write-up or something. And then the last record of Eric Dolphy's that I picked up, absolute holy grail, cornerstone to my collection. Really happy to get this. And that's an absolute mint copy of Eric Dolphy's Out to Lunch. Most expensive record I've ever bought into. Not crazy expensive, but it was expensive. Cool stereo sticker on there. Like, you won't see that on all the stereo pressings. I don't know why some are pressed with that or like stuck on the jackets, and some of them don't have that, but it's cool when it does. And as you can see, like, no ring wear, no stains on the back, and the vinyl is also in like perfect shape. Where do I stick it? Here is the record to show you guys. As I mentioned, a stereo pressing, New York labels. Monos tend to go for a little more, but the more you research online, the more you don't really get anywhere. Like, some people want to believe that the monos are a different mix, and then it seems like most people believe that by this time, because like all these sessions were made at Van Gelder's home studio, which he in his basement, like for all the record labels like Prestige, Impulse, and stuff, he was doing all of them in his home recording studio, and most people think that he was doing them in stereo, and then any of the mono pressings are just fold downs of the stereos. But so all this to say that this potentially might not be as good as a mix as the monos, because monos are normally more desirable in jazz records, but I don't care. It's just such a privilege to own one of them. And right now I'm just trying to zoom in to show you that earmark right there. And that's something you definitely want to make sure that you see if you're going to be paying a decent amount of money for Blue Note, because otherwise, if you don't see that, then it's a repress or a Liberty pressing or something, because that kind of like script mark, it's called the earmark. It's the material that they used at the Blue Note pressing plant to press the records, and that's like the way you use to indicate to make sure absolutely that you have an original pressing, because the labels might not be true to what pressing you have. Next the last three records I'm gonna show are by another artist, and that artist is Ornette Coleman. This is a record. This isn't from that collection. This is one record that I bought in Toronto. Really great gloss. It's hard, like, these glossy records get creases in them pretty easily. I mean, I've even done it myself. I think if you can see by that stereo thing, that slight crease, I think I did that myself. But, this is a near mint copy of it. There's this really great store in Toronto. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but they have a shitload of original jazz records, but their prices aren't like that great. A lot of this stuff is way overpriced what it should be. For condition, like, it seems that some records, they don't really care about what the condition it's in. They'll just, if it's a rare record, they'll give it a high price. But then on the records that are in, like, really great shape, they won't be, like, any different. There won't be any difference between the ones that are, like, just as rare, that should be around the same price, that are in crappy shape, and the ones that are in near mid shape, is what I'm trying to say. But still, like, can be somewhat expensive, so I limited myself to just find one great record in there. I came across this. It wasn't very expensive at all, and it's an original stereo pressing on the green Atlantic. The mono is on a black Atlantic label. Unlike Blue Note, Atlantic for sure had a dedicated mono mix and a dedicated stereo mix, so I don't know. It's not that I like having originals. As for mono versus stereo, I guess there's obviously a difference, but it doesn't really detract that much to me, like listening to a mono copy versus a stereo copy. But I should invest maybe later on in life, like seeking out monos and stereo copies and then comparing them and stuff, but right now I don't have the time or money to do that, so but really glad to own that record. And speaking of his Atlantic records, I also got this from that collection that I got most of these other records from. This is Ornette Coleman's The Art of the Improvisers, and this is just a collection of unreleased tracks, like some studio outtakes and stuff of his early 60s Atlantic stuff, because later on he went to record for other labels and stuff, and although, like, you could see why some of these tracks were outtakes, like, they're not quite as strong as, like, stuff that were on Change of the Century or, any of the other albums. They're still solid tracks, and, like, Change of the Century, This Is Our Music, Ornette on tenor, Shape of Jazz They Come, they're not, I wouldn't say exactly, like, similar, but there's definitely a common sound through those records, and, like, Don Cherry was with them from the beginning with, like, The Shape of Jazz to Come, and, there's, like, a fluidity and cohesiveness, so that, although these are from many different sessions, there's a nice cohesiveness, or I don't even know if that's a word, through these tracks, that it doesn't just sound like a pile of outtakes. It sounds good together. And I think that all those early Atlantic records were on par with each other. Like, I know Shape of Jazz to Come is regarded as the highest, but like each one of those records are really great. The Change of the Century is just as good in my opinion as Shape of Jazz to Come and as This Is Our Music. I'd love to find an original copy of This Is Our Music because I have a repress, but it's such a badass cover. So, last record, it's a Ornette Coleman record, but Ornette Coleman at the Golden Circle. Another one of my most sought after Blue Notes chased down, and there's not that many left. There's a few other New York Blue Notes that I would really love to get. Cecil Taylor's Conquistador, just to name one. But like for the most part, I don't think I'm ever, unless I get a great deal on them, gonna pay the price to get, 47 West 63rd or Lexington. But these New York, this was quite affordable. Really, not much more than you would pay for a normal record in record stores. And fantastic. If you want kind of that early, Atlantic 60s Ornette sound, but in a different kind of setting and stuff, because of course he doesn't have any of the same players with him. He has two players that I think this is the only stuff that they recorded with him. David Eisenson and Charles Moffat, or Moffat, I'm not sure. I think I'm mispronouncing one of those names at least for sure, but this is really cool. A live concert that he did in Stockholm. This is volume 1. There's also another volume of this. But really good. This is just check it out, show you guys. And mono. It's also got the ear and the dead wax. I think this was 65, maybe 60. Yeah, it was recorded in 65, but this should still have the ear mark. And yeah, that's everything I have to show you guys. Some really good staples to my collection that I added. Got a few more things. Not sure when I'm gonna get a chance to throw up another video. I mean, I do have time all the time, but I'm working on my thesis in university right now, so any free time that I do have, I could be putting towards that. But nice to touch base with you guys again. Leave a comment, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And if you guys wouldn't mind, I don't know if it gets annoying, if I leave too much background or ramble too much about my feelings on the music or something, you think that I could cut out a lot of crap in these videos, I'd love to hear that too. Because I know I tend to ramble. But as I said, hope you guys enjoyed, and talk to you guys later.